Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 2021-22 Oak Grove Middle School Band meeting. How's everybody doing tonight? Can I get some waves from home? Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. My name is Mr. Johnson. I'm one of the assistant band directors here at Oak Grove. I know it's kind of weird with COVID the past couple of years, not being able to meet each other. You know, we're used to looking like this. Well, I look like this. So I'm going to get right to it. Thank you for being here. First off, I just want to go into introducing our staff. We have on staff here our woodwind instructor, also the color guard director at the high school, Mr. Zachary Hassel. He's waving in chat. He's been here 10 years. This is his 11th year on staff with us, and we are very blessed to have him. Next, we have Mr. David Louvier, DJ Louvier. He teaches our percussion, all things 6-12 percussion. He is also in charge of the indoor percussion group as well during the fall season, and you'll see more about that later in the high school years. But he teaches all things 6-12 percussion, marching band percussion, middle school percussion, and percussion. Next, we have Mr. James Crocker. He's waving in the channel. There he is. He teaches the 7th grade band and also all things high brass. So he'll be in charge of the 7th grade brass class, but as well as assisting 6th and 8th grade brass class. He's a trumpet player, primarily works with high brass and the high school band, and assists the high school marching band as well. And then next we have myself, Mr. Daniel Johnson. I'm in the same kind of role Mr. Crocker's in. I play trombone, so I'm mostly always helping the low brass. But I assist the high school marching band with the visual marching fundamentals type stuff while fronting the 8th grade band at the middle school. So, and then I also teach the 8th grade brass class. And then lastly, but not least, our director of bands, Mr. Paul Roos. This is his 2nd year here with us. There he is. He's been here 2 years with as I have at the same time, and he has been a wonderful, wonderful leader for our staff. And going into this next portion, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him, and he's going to kind of let you know what the Oak Grove Bands is.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Parents, first thing I want to make sure that comes out of my mouth is thank you for being here. Sincerest gratitude for you taking the time to be here right now, because things are so chaotic, and you would be forgiven for having a plethora of excuses for not. So thank you for taking charge of your students' education and help guiding them in a very crucial moment in their lives right now. Mr. Johnson asked me to speak specifically about a couple things, so I will try to be brief. First of all, just as a program in general, what do we do? Well, the band program really serves 2 roles. Our first and always our primary role is to teach students music education. That is what we are here to do, and that is always the lead thought whenever we go forward to make major big decisions. But the second role is a community outreach. We do have, we are in the public eye a lot. We're in parades, we're at football games, pep rallies, even at the middle school. Your students this year will get to experience a version of that. So what I say all of those things to say this one thing, which is at the end of the day, what band really is, what we really do is we're a community within the school. We are our own family. We take care of ourselves. We help each other. We spend too much time together to not have that sort of relationship. And that extends to you, the parents, because you are very crucial to our success in everything that we do. And we're not just talking about the money. I know money gets a lot of the conversation, but your just involvement, you're being there for your students every single day, asking them what they're learning, asking them to play for you and show out and be part of that process with us goes a very long way to helping our helping us do our job well for you and for them. So Mr. Johnson wants me to talk about the fact that 7th and 8th grade is sort of the grooming period for high school now. They've gone through 6th grade band, albeit a little bit different than we would have chosen for them to go through. Even our 8th graders of this year were 6th graders when COVID hit. They got that middle of the year boot out of school. So the group that I'm talking to now is in a very specific category as far as my experience, where no one in this group except for the directors has experienced a normal band year, unless you've had an older child that's gone through the program. So what we are desperately trying to do for you is generate and create the most authentic and productive experience while we try to mitigate all the COVID things, so that we can be on top of our responsibilities to music education and to the community and to the school. And then finally, the way we do that, I've been asked to talk about something that we use at the high school in a little bit different manner. At the middle school, we're using mastery assessments periodically through the year. This is something that I feel is incredibly important, and the reason for the mastery assessments, these are very simple yet vital aspects of your students' music making capabilities. We are not asking any mastery assessment to be on anything that is not a required skill for them to continue on in band. These are sort of benchmarks. If you're familiar with benchmarks in other classes, they have to reach a certain standard in order to achieve a certain level in those classes, or sometimes even just to move on. So the mastery assessments serve that role in the band world. Periodically, once, I believe, just give me a nod, guys, it's one mastery assessment a marking period, right? So that's how important we've created these experiences to be. They're so crucial that if a student is falling behind of a mastery assessment, that's a red flag to us. It's an early warning sign so that we can reach out and help a student that is probably struggling. So please be, look at the calendar and help us help your students with those assessments. Okay. I think that's just about time. I will be around after the meeting if anyone wants to ask me any specific questions. Happy to hang back, but I do want to keep the meeting moving forward. So thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you, parents, again for being here. And I look forward to working with every single one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Roos. And I hope everyone really, listened and dialed that in. There's a difference between what is good and great. And we as the Oak Grove band staff constantly talk every day about how we want to not just be mediocre or good or just get by, but great. And those are the things that are going to really set that apart from the other band programs in the state and in the country. Next, we have Mr. Crocker. He's going to talk to you about all things with band fees, our charms information, drug forms, and student expectations. Mr. Crocker.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Good evening, everybody. We're going to just go and jump right into it so that we don't take up any more time of your time than we have to. The first thing we're going to talk about tonight is band fees, or the first thing I'm going to talk about is band fees. The band fee for 7th and 8th grade students in the Oak Grove Middle School band program is $35 per student. And all of that $35 goes right back into your student's band experience. The $35 that you pay goes to cover the cost of their band shirt, which is for a uniform appearance at performances. It covers their band binder and page protectors that they use in class every day. It's going to go towards a personal shatterproof mirror that all the students are going to have and use in class on a regular basis this year. And all of those things so far that we've talked about, we actually can provide those things to your students at a cheaper price because we can buy them in bulk. That $35 also goes to cover bus transportation to off-campus events, yearly school-owned instrument repair and maintenance, as well as other necessary instructional materials that we need, like buying sheet music for our end-of-the-year festival performances and things like that. All of these things being necessary for the logistical side of the program to take place. The easiest way right now for everybody to pay that band fee is on My School Bucks, especially seeing as how nobody's really coming to campus right now. My School Bucks is going to be the easiest way to get that taken care of. You can actually find information on My School Bucks on the Oak Grove Middle School homepage or on their website, but you can also find a link to the My School Bucks website through which you can pay your band fee. on oakgrovebands.org. That's our website for all things Oak Grove Band. And if you guys go to that webpage, there actually is a banner at the top of the webpage that is all things middle school band. On that link is provided My School Bucks information, the Charms info Google form, which we're going to be talking about in just a second, and a link to the 7th and 8th grade middle school band handbook, which is there for you guys to peruse and to refer back to if you guys ever need to. If you guys don't want to pay on My School Bucks, you are welcome to pay in cash. If you do want to pay in cash, we do ask that you guys please bring that loose cash in a sealed envelope with your student's name, grade level, instrument, and what it's for written on the front. That's going to help us to know exactly who's turned in what and where we need to direct that money to, amongst all the other stuff that's coming into us. If you do decide to do that, then please, we also ask, please pay with either pay with cash, not with check. That's just school policy. And also try to use exact change as much as possible. We don't keep any loose cash down in the band office at the middle school. All of that stuff goes down to our bookkeepers at the end of the day. So we may or may not be able to actually give your student change back if they come not with exact change. The original due date for the band fee was this upcoming Friday, August the 13th, but we are going to push that due date back due to current circumstances. We're going to push the due date back to 1 week after the students return from school. So that's kind of where the situation is sitting with all of that. If you guys have any questions about that, please contact us. If you guys have anything that you need to make us aware of regarding your situation, please just let us know, and we will help out with anything that we can. Moving on next to that Charms info Google form that I mentioned just a little bit ago, just explaining what Charms is. Charms is simply an information database that the band directors are using, and it helps us keep track of a whole lot of stuff. We can keep track of finances within the band program. We can keep track of our music library, school-owned instruments, and student information. That's kind of our hub for student information. It's also our hub for communication as well. Whenever we have to send out information about upcoming events, performances, fundraisers, last-minute schedule changes, which unfortunately we may run into a couple of times this year, we're going to be sending out that information via Charms. We are going to try to use some of the other avenues of communication that we have, email, Google Classroom, and things like that. But Charms is a very efficient way for us to communicate with you. We can put something into Charms and send out a blast to every student in the program, 6th grade through 12th grade, and we know that every student is going to receive the same message all at the same time. So it's a really good way for us to communicate with you guys. So if you guys haven't yet filled out that Google form, the Charms info Google form, please make an effort to do so as soon as you possibly can. You can find links to that on oakgrovebands.org in that middle school tab. You can also find it, I believe we've all posted links to that on our Google Classrooms. It's also in the handbook. If you guys still have the handbook or can find a copy of the handbook of the 7th and 8th grade middle school band handbook, either on Google Classroom or on the oakgrovebands.org website, there's a QR code that's in the handbook that will take you straight to that Charms Google form where you guys can fill that out. If you guys have any problems finding it, again, please let us know and we'll direct you to it. Next thing that we're going to talk about is the drug testing consent form. As far as the drug testing consent form goes, every student that's involved in an interscholastic activity on Oak Grove Middle School's campus is required to turn in that drug testing consent form. Now, that doesn't mean that your student will be tested, but it means that they could be tested if their name is drawn from the list. Any student that has not turned in that form to their activity sponsor or teacher is not going to be allowed to participate in any after-school or off-campus activities that the band may be participating in. So please try to get those into us as soon as you can if you have not already done so. We've already had really good response with most of this stuff, but if for some reason this is the first time that you're hearing about this, then let's try to get those things taken care of as soon as possible. The drug testing consent forms can be found also in the 7th and 8th grade middle school band handbook. It's the very, very last page in the handbook. So you guys can go access that there. The original due date for those was July the 30th, but again, due to current circumstances, we're going to push that due date back as well. You guys can turn them in, or your students can turn them in as soon as as soon as we're able to get them back on campus. I think the last thing that that I'm going to be talking about tonight is student performance expectations. Now, most of you guys already know, and especially if you've been in Hattiesburg for a while, or if you've been affiliated with the Oak Grove Band program for some time, you know that we're pretty lucky here. Oak Grove Bands, here at Oak Grove Bands, we're considered, and we are seen as one of the premier band programs in the state of Mississippi. And for us to continue that legacy going forward, and to be able to provide that opportunity for the generations of band students that are coming up into our program, we do have to hold ourselves to some pretty high standards of performance, and we have to hold our students to some pretty high standards of performance as well. A lot of people kind of like to look at band and think of it as an extracurricular activity. In our opinion, that's not the best way to describe band. We like to think of band and describe it, or we think it's better described as a co-curricular activity. And what that simply means is that it may not be a subject that's state tested at the end of the year, but it's also not a subject in which students can get an A in the class just by the virtue of the fact that they showed up for class. So we're going to ask you guys for your help. Please encourage your students to be practicing at home. Please talk to your students about what's going on in band, and what kind of things that they're working on. Ask them to play something for you every once in a while. If you don't hear them practicing on a regular basis, that might be it may be time to just check in with them a little bit and see kind of what's going on in band. I think a good general rule of thumb is that they need to practice between 15 to 20 minutes, probably 4 nights a week. And we know that there's going to be extenuating circumstances. Sometimes you're going to be able to get a little bit more than that and need a little bit more than that. Sometimes you're not going to be able to get as much if you have to go out of town to go see family, if there's something happening, a church event on a Wednesday night. But if that's kind of the default, something around there, 15 to 20 minutes, 4 days a week, then you're probably going to be in pretty good shape as far as your students' performance, and the students are going to be in good shape as far as their grades are concerned as well. Also, please keep in mind that the different classes are going to have different requirements that go along with them, just by nature of the differences in those classes. For example, it requires a different set of materials for a clarinet player to participate in class than a trumpet player. It's just 2 different instruments. And also there's going to be differences of the way that the classes are structured, just based on the personalities of the teachers that are fronting those classes. So please try to be aware of what's going on in classes. We're going to be trying to getting information out to you guys as much as we can. But talk to your students about what's going on in band and help them stay on top of things as well. That's all I've got. Thank you guys for your time. Mr. Johnson, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Crocker. Sorry for that little delay. I'm actually updating the website as we speak. So I was getting the Charms link info on the website. And like Mr. Crocker said, you can go to oakgrovebands.org. And then whenever you go find the middle school tab, you can see that we have those 3 things. We have the My School Bucks, we have the handbook there, and we have the Charms info Google form there for you to fill out. Okay, so I'm updating that. It may be kind of quirky right now, but it's going to be updated. So next, I want to just hand it over to Mr. Hassel. He's going to talk about football games, pep rallies, what it normally is, what we're trying to deal with, how we're going to go with it in the future. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hassel to let y'all know what we're in store for in the football area.
All right. Excuse me. Hey, everyone. So what we're going to do this year, which we didn't get to do last year, and it's kind of our tradition, we typically perform at 2 middle school football games. Both of those were listed on the calendar in the handbook. Sorry, my computer, of course, goes glitchy right when it's my time to talk. What we're going to do is, there we go, I think I fixed it. Anyway, so we're playing at 2 middle school football games. Sorry about that. And then we'll play at all of the pep rallies. Now, unfortunately, the first pep rally is actually supposed to happen on, I think, like next week. But with going virtual and everything, all that kind of stuff is up in the air. So we wanted to take a moment. And for right now, our intent this whole year in the program 6 through 12 is to get back to normal as best we can, as safe as we can. And we obviously have to be mindful of the conditions in the community and all those kinds of things. So for right now, what we're asking is that you keep those dates that are in the handbook calendar and hold on to those and keep those dates saved as the dates that we're going to have those football games. And those, I'll talk about what that entails in just a minute. But just know that we will send out through Google Classroom, Charms, School Status, Messenger Pigeon, smoke signals, whatever, if we change or we have to adjust those things because of COVID. We will send that information out to you. And as always, if you get to a point where you're like, I don't know if I'm supposed to have this information and my kid doesn't know either, you can always email us. You can always email us and we'll be happy to answer that. For the football game, just since we haven't gotten to do one with either our 7th or 8th graders yet, we typically have the call time around 6. We try to get into the stadium at 6. The call time is typically around 5:30. And we recognize that for the football games, this is a challenge. It's been a challenge for years as far as parents getting off work and those kinds of things. So if you will look at those dates on the calendar now and start talking with your family and your smaller communities to figure out where you're going to get your kid, just knowing that it's probably going to be in that 5 to 6 o'clock window when traffic's crazy. However, that's based on the time that the football game starts because we play for part of the 7th grade and part of the 8th grade game. So we're technically showing up in the middle of the 7th grade game, but it just starts too early for us to feasibly get everyone together. So if you look on the calendar and make sure to save those 2 dates in September, and we will communicate more with you as that more information comes forward. I did want to deviate slightly, Mr. Johnson, from my list because I did want to say we have a few new band friends in here. That's what I've been calling them in class. Whether it was someone who was in 6th grade last year and was virtual the whole year or someone who moved in or whatever, if your child falls under that new band friend situation, I will be sending you a personal email through Gmail and through School Status to set up a time to talk with you about getting your student an instrument and those kinds of things that are unique to your situation and not the larger group. So I'll be reaching out in the next, I should have those emails out by Wednesday, and you'll have all the information you need and we can go from there. And back to Mr. Johnson.
Cool. Thank you, Mr. Hassel, and I appreciate you letting them know that about our band friends. So just to kind of go into the next area, I want to talk a little bit about one thing that we're going to hopefully get to do this year with how random the year has been so far. But we're going to implement a new thing that the Oak Grove Band Program wants to try and do, and we're calling it Mass Band Night. Mass Band Night is exactly what it sounds like. It is the mass band on a night all together on the field in front of God and everybody on a Friday night. We're going to have all band members, 7th through 12th grade, on the field playing some type of warrior pep rally song where the audience can get involved, the community sees us. It's a huge thing because in all honesty, we are the biggest organization in the school district. If you add up the numbers, 6th through 12th grade, we have the most students involved in the organization, and we're the biggest organization in the school district. So you should be proud of that. As a parent, students as a contributor towards the band program, that's huge. So we want to prove that. We want to show that. We want the community to see that, and that's a really special moment. So that night's coming. Information's coming on that. We're kind of just being real careful about going full force into something that's a month and a half away because of obviously the way that it's been going so far. But that's the idea and the goal that we're going for right now. That's one thing. The next performance is the winter and spring concerts. That's going to all be a 6th through 12th grade night. You have the opportunity to see everybody. So 7th and 8th graders, you get to see the 6th graders perform. You get to see the high schoolers perform. There's different bands. There's different ensembles. There's these things that we're doing in the high school program called Living Christmas Cards, where we're going to actually send certain groups around to houses or even maybe in the hallways during school and send living Christmas cards to their doorstep. So that's going to be really cool. We got a lot of really cool plans that's cooking up for that, and we can't wait for y'all to be a part of that during the winter and spring concerts. And then lastly but not least, the high school band and the middle school band start to get into what we call band festivals. Band festival is an adjudicated event where retired band directors, close by band directors from around the country might fly in, and they are Pearl River Community College hosts a band festival where bands in the region, in the area, go and they perform. And we work up 2 to 3 pieces. The 7th grade band will do a few pieces. The 8th grade band will do a few pieces. They get to get out of school. They get to get some food. They get to just go and, you know, represent not just Oak Grove Middle School and Oak Grove bands, but Mississippi and their region, or just our middle school in general, or their grade. It's really, really the next level of a performance. Instead of just playing at the house in their room to a computer, they're actually playing on stage with their peers on something that they're working on for a good amount of time, maybe 2 to 3 months at a time, and then they perform for about 3 to 4 minutes, and all of that work in 3 minutes gets adjudicated, and there's ratings involved, and that's just a really big thing that we want to make sure that we're constantly doing, is performing and using our talents where they need to be necessary. So that's coming. We don't know dates yet or times, but like I said, just kind of keep that on your radar. It's in the calendar on the handbook, and you'll see that. And then I'm going to specifically talk to the 8th graders, 8th grade parents. I don't know about you, but it's already September. No, it's August. It's almost September. And in less than 9 months, your child will be auditioning for the high school marching band. Not a year away, less than a year. So those things in May are coming, and we will, Mr. Roos will be in contact with you via email through Charms when that's set up, of all things with calendars and dates and rehearsals and audition days and how we do that, the contract night, the way that we want to set you up for success super early, allow you to ask questions and get involved and get your feet wet instead of just showing up at the end of July for a band camp, but we get you involved very early. So I just kind of want you to have that on your radar, that this year we tell the 8th grade we're treating them like high school students, because they kind of already are in less than a year. So that's just something to be more excited about than anything, and we couldn't be more proud of the process that they're going through and how they're handling it and what's in store for them this year for performances, from the spring concert to mass band night to marching band auditions. And then 7th grade, you guys get to hear this thing again next year, but that's part of what is in store for you as well. The last thing that I want to hit is paying attention to the immediate present right now. We are virtual, and parents, we just want to encourage you to help us help them turn in their assignments, getting things logged in. You know, as of today, I had, like, for an example, I'll speak of my class, but we had an assignment due Friday, and there was 35 people in the class, but there was 19 that still never even submitted it as of this morning. So it gets tough because of, you know, the way that they may be using their internet or may not have internet, or apartment noise. All those things start to just kind of jumble and get as a distraction, maybe an excuse or whatnot. But we just want to ask you to please, please, please help us help them get those things turned in, because that might be our reality this year. We might end up truly being back and forth. We might not ever do this again. So when we do have these moments where we are virtual, we want to make sure that we're not tiptoeing through it anymore, because we already did that last year. So I always ask my students this, but parents, can I get a thumbs up from everybody on the camera if y'all can help us out? Oh man, I love it. Oh goodness, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's going to help so much. I appreciate it very, very much. Perfect. Before we get into a little question moment real quick, I just want to make sure that I handled all things. Mr. Roos, Mr. Crocker, Mr. Hassel, Mr. Louvier, if y'all thought of anything or anything that spurred anything in your brain, feel free to speak up right now. I think we're okay. Okay. And if you would, I'm going to ask, if you have a question, you can stick back. That way we don't waste anybody else's time, because it is, I told the staff and we were all agreeance that 7 o'clock we're wrapping this baby up. So pay those fees, look at our website, stay in touch. Please email your student's director via, like, the Lamar County School website email, so that way it's more personal for them and their class, and not necessarily any director, but direct all questions to your child's band director, and that will help a lot. But if you have a question, stick around. Other than that, we thank you for being here. I think I saw it up to 118 That's crazy. And I am and we are very happy to be a part of that. And that's huge. So I just hope next time it's in person in an auditorium where we can shake hands and really, really get to know each other. But with that, it is 7 o'clock, Apple, Mississippi, Hattiesburg time. Thank you for your time. We'll be in touch with you, and we can't wait to see your children next Tuesday, okay? Thank you. Good night. See you later. Bye-bye.
Hey, I had a question. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, great. So I was kind of going back and forth between this and the board meeting and heard that we're going hybrid. So does anything change for us now with that?
Hey, I'll jump in. If you'll give us 24 hours to process
Okay.
any information that just came from the board meeting, and we will
Yeah.
get that information out to you guys.
Okay, that would be great. And is this going to be the meeting going to be available maybe to listen to the recorded, or is it being recorded?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am. I'm
ma'am.
recording it right now. So we'll make that recording
Crocker's on
available
it.
to you guys in some form or fashion. Google Classrooms or on the website, something like that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Hey, I have a question as well.
Go for it, Miss Gardena.
Kristen has switched to the bassoon this semester, and I didn't know for the football games if she needed to continue to work on the clarinet specifically to be able to participate in those games, or does she? I don't recall seeing a bassoon on the field before.
So in the past, typically we've had those kids take those instruments out. I've talked with the kids in class a bit about this, and I will, after I finish this, I will send you an email typing out the details a little bit more, and you can follow up with any other clarifying questions. But we have kind of 2 tracks we're trying out this year so that we can, before we go into next year. So I'll kind of explain those options a little bit more, and you can kind of let me know which one you want to try. Does that make sense?
That does. Thank you.
All right.
I have the same question for Jacob. He's also doing the bassoon.
Yeah, the same thing. Jacob in class expressed, I don't want to hold him to it, but I'll send you the same email. But Jacob expressed that to protect the bassoon, playing his alto saxophone for the marching band things. But I'll send you an email kind of detailing out what that entails, and you can make the call from there.
Thank you.
If there's any more questions that you may think could be answered in an email, please feel free to email us. All of our emails are first.lastname@lamarcountyschools.org. So Zachary.Hassel, James.Crocker, Daniel.Johnson, Paul.Roos. However you want to do it, you are more than welcome to email us. Even tonight, we'll even stick around and kind of check our emails if you don't want to speak over anybody else's time. But other than that, you are free to go. We are good to go here. And like Mr. Hassel said, we'll be in touch after we kind of process in about 24 hours what we want to do from this point out.
Mr. Johnson.
Hey, go ahead.
My mom asked do we take the drug test at home or like?
No, you'll just sign that piece of paper and bring it into the school, and then that way your information's on file for if they ever wanted to do a drug test at school.
The school randomly, once every 9 weeks or something like that, draws names, and then you'll go into a bath, they do it in the gym, and you'll go into a restroom and you'll do all that stuff. It won't be like that. Yeah. Word.
I think she just. Hey, are you there? Say that again, Mr. Hassel.
I was just saying, it's all of the students who are involved in activities have to sign it because according to the MHSAA, they have to be available to be randomly drug tested. So once a 9 weeks, they'll call 20 names off of all of the lists of all the activities that fall under that ruling. From there, they will take you to, I think they do it in the gym. And there'll be male and female adults there to supervise, but no one's in the bathroom with your kid or anything like that. However, it is done at the school. You don't take it home or have to do anything like that. It's 10 minutes out of your school day if your name gets called.
Okay.
So we just have to sign the form. Okay.
Yeah, just sign that and bring it in.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? I know we're kind of got a few people sticking around. I don't want to spend too much time if anybody's just hanging out. But other than that, we are good to go. Email us for questions. And thank you so much for sticking
Hey,
around.
Mr. Johnson, can
Hey.
you throw the middle school charms code into the chat box?
I sure will. I'll do it
Thank
right
you.
now.